the NHLPA has the option to opt out of the collective bargaining agreement on the 15th of September. The history between the NHLPA and the NHL, the owners, is a checkered one. And in the last 25 years, there's been 3 lockouts and a player strike. The NHL wants to avoid a lockout or strike by any means necessary. This is why I don't think there will be a lockout next year, because of the impending expansion with Seattle in 2021 and the $650 million in expansion fees coming into the league. I don't think that the NHL wants to lose out on that money and that prospective fan base, because the success of Vegas has shown that while they're still buying into the Vegas Golden Knights and revenues are up, they don't want to risk that new fan base and potential fans being turned off because of labour unrest. You have to look at other sports such as Major League Baseball that's had so many player strikes, and fans have started slowly to trickle away from Major League Baseball. They're turning their backs on Major League Baseball. Slowly but surely there is a trickle effect because of constant issues between the Players' Union and the league. The NHL and the NHLPA have had a fractious relationship in the past. This current collective bargaining agreement was born out the last lockout, where half a season was lost. Technically, we lost 2 full seasons worth of play because of lockouts. The NHL is trying to get better TV deals with the networks, both in the US and Canada and overseas. That affects their bargaining power when it comes to negotiating television contracts. Another reason why the NHL wants to avoid a lockout. The NHL has been making more money than it ever has in real terms. The NHL is making a massive amount of money under Gary Bettman as commissioner. Massive amount of money. The things that are going to be up for discussion, regardless if the NHLPA opts out or not, because at some point in the next couple of years, the collective bargaining agreement will have to be extended or renewed. So even if they don't opt out now, the collective bargaining agreement does expire in 2021. So even if they don't opt out now for the end of 2020, by the end of the 2020-2021 season, it expires anyway, the year Seattle joins. The league and the NHLPA will have to at some point either extend the current agreement or come up with a new one. 2 things that are going to be major talking points is revenue sharing of expansion fees, TV fees, image rights, more revenue sharing with the players and the league. Even though their salary cap is going up and the salaries are getting bigger and bigger, the players want that share of the money because they're the ones that make the league the money in the long term. And Olympic participation. They're the 2 massive sticking points. Other things are like length of contract, UFA, RFS, restricted and unrestricted free agency status, that kind of thing, bridge contracts. So contracts are always going to be there. Signing on bonuses is another big talking point that needs to be addressed. But they're nowhere near as big because I think that the players, their agents, the NHLPA, the NHL will thrash out something to do with contracts. They always do. But the 2 big sticking points is revenue sharing from expansion fees and TV fees with the players in the league, and Olympic participation, because we saw so many players be very critical of the NHL's decision to block players from going to the Olympics. Very, very critical. A lot of players, obviously, it's great pride to represent their country at the Olympics, and they were very frustrated in not being given that opportunity to represent their country at the Olympics. Alexander Ovechkin and Erik Karlsson being 2 very vocal critics of the NHL's decision to not let the players go to represent their countries. Very critical. It's a tough one. I can see the NHL not wanting any kind of labour dispute with Seattle joining. And I can see the players being in a position of strength because now the union is bigger than it's ever been. With Vegas joining, there's now more players who are registered with the NHLPA. So the NHLPA is now bigger than it's ever been with union size, so their voice is louder. And the NHL, while they are in a position of strength, with Seattle joining, they want to avoid a lockout in the season prior. or they want to avoid the collective bargaining agreement expiring the season that Seattle joins. So the NHL, while they're in a position of strength with the Vegas success, the league making loads of money, the salary cap seemed to be working with 2 new sides winning the Stanley Cup in the last 2 years in Washington and St. Louis. The issue is still there. There is still a lack of trust between the NHLPA and the NHL. It's a fractious relationship, but I can't see either side actually wanting a lockout because that will damage the brand and the public relations mess that it will be. It'll paint the players in a negative light and the owners. And in the past lockouts, players have come across in a very negative light, very negatively. There has to be some kind of common ground. I think the NHL will give a little bit of ground when it comes to revenue sharing and the Olympics. The players will give a little bit of ground when it comes to salary cap levels and how quickly it rises and a few other bits and pieces. Because at the end of the day, it's a new team joining, a lot of money coming into the league. The players are getting paid more than they ever have. The league's earning more money than it ever has. Both sides are coming from a position of strength. It will only harm the sport and the league should there be a lockout. And they may lose those fans they've got with Vegas, and that may put off fans from supporting Seattle in the numbers that they are predicted to do so. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Place your comments below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.